Hey folks, this is Kelani. We've had a bit of a crazy start to this patch, and not in a, oh my gosh, that's so awesomely crazy, haha kind of way. This patch was supposed to be the injection that Battle for Azeroth so sorely needed right now, and I think it's fallen pretty flat for a variety of reasons. It's a mixed bag of reactions from players overall for sure, but it never helps when there's a handful of exploitable bugs running amok, terrible server-wide lag for no apparent reason, and while we're sat here twiddling our thumbs waiting for bug fixes, or for a shred of more content, Blizzard is happily throwing more stuff into the cash shop. So what are these bugs that most of you probably missed? Well, the first one had a very short window of operation. I think it was only active for maybe an hour or two maximum, but basically, island expeditions had a chance to randomly reward you with 50,000 artifact power when you completed them. That's not an inflated number, they were actually rewarding 50,000 artifact power, which honestly just baffles me. I have so many questions about this one. What could have possibly triggered this absurd bug? From what I understand, it wasn't anything to do with how you were running the island. You didn't have to do anything specific to actually trigger the bug, and it wasn't something that you could actively repeat time and time again. For that very brief period of time, if you completed an island, any island, and if you killed rares or mass AoE'd, open chests or mined Azeroth, no matter how you went about completing this island, there was a chance that your reward would skyrocket from a handful of artifact power all the way up to 50k. How does that even happen? My other question would be, why is a 50,000 artifact power reward even available? I hope that isn't a brief glimpse of what's to come when the Heart of Azeroth changes come in patch 8.2. We know we won't have to grind artifact power to unlock Azeroth traits on any new gear in that patch, but I believe artifact power is still going to be the main driving force for our amulets. So the AP grind continues, but does this bug draw back the curtain on a potentially massive artifact power requirement later on? I would hope not, especially considering the way artifact knowledge works this time around, but those are discussions for another time. What happened with the bug? It seems to have been addressed fairly quickly, which is why the window for its exploitability was so short. They had it patched up and islands were rewarding their normal paltry sum within an hour or two, but what about all of those characters who suddenly got a pretty huge boost of Azeroth? When this kind of thing happened in Legion, I think it might have been fairly difficult to remove the AP from these characters, and several exploits were never truly fixed, or repaired, I guess. This time around, the dev team are going to be removing any and all artifact power gained through the Island Expedition bug. At least that's what they're saying. If you happen to see this crazy reward for a few of your islands recently, you might want to keep an eye on your amulet level to see if anything does get taken away. That bug was a little more innocent than the next one. If islands start randomly rewarding you with a boatload of AP, there's nothing you can really do to avoid that, but what if a world boss allows you to loot it over and over again with no end in sight? Because that sort of happened too. For a little while there, the new world boss in Darkshore didn't have a loot lockout. That meant you could kill it over and over again and have a chance at loot each time. Some of you might scoff at me and say, but Kelani, world bosses don't ever drop loot anyway, so what's the problem here? Well, I know not getting loot is pretty frustrating, but I can promise you there's a pretty decent chance you'll get at least one item if you kill the world boss over 50 times. And that's exactly what some people did. They killed the boss enough to get all the loot they wanted, but some players kept going. You might think it's a bit weird to just farm the same world boss over and over again. Surely there's no point once you've gotten the pieces you actually need, right? Well, here's the kicker. Ivers has a chance to drop 385 Azeroth armor. If you're not sure why that's actually a pretty huge deal, Azeroth armor can disenchant or scrap into the new Titan Residuum currency. A 385 piece will give you 35 residuum, which is the most you can get from scrapping right now. Those players figured they could kill Ivers over and over again, and any Azeroth armor they got went straight into their residuum fund so they could buy other Azeroth armor at the vendor, or even stock up hundreds to try and get ready for Season 2 of Battle for Azeroth, where item level 400 and 415 gear would be made available. Obviously, that's taking a known bug and running wild with it. While no one who benefited from the Island Expedition bug has received any punishment that I know of, besides the AP being removed, players who severely exploited the World Boss bug have been seeing bans for up to 18 months. I do believe the punishment's directly related to how much a player was exploiting the World Boss, so those players who stuck around for hours just farming their brains out and hoping nothing would happen, those are the chaps stuck with the longest bans. I think quite a few high-level mythic guilds suddenly lost 80% of their rosters. Can't imagine why, which isn't really ideal, but hey-ho, there we go. I saw quite a few posts on Reddit about these bugs chanting exploit early, exploit often, because nothing had been done about the players who had taken advantage of it, and as we now know, it just took them a few days to settle on what to do and possibly collect the information to actually go through with these punishments. And if Blizzard's reaction is anything to go by, it should probably be exploit early, exploit only a handful of times so you don't get smashed by the ban hammer, because I think if you went into Darkshore and accidentally, maybe on purpose, killed the world boss maybe 2 or 3 times, you probably won't see any punishment at all. Blizzard has made their stance pretty clear when it comes to this kind of thing though. The last few times a bug has been so heavily exploited, it's usually the ban hammer all the way and some pretty long bans at that. So that covers the big bugs that have cropped up in 8.1 so far. What else do we have to talk about? Oh yes, server lag. Have any of you tried to take part in the new incursions or faction assaults with war mode turned on? First of all, I think this works pretty well for encouraging players to turn war mode on in the first place, and for trying to whip up some world PvP. Most of the times I've gone over to the world quest area for the incursions, there's been a little PvP action going on at the very least, and quite a few times I've walked straight into an alliance or horde raid, sweeping through the area, killing any red names on sight. And while world PvP can be pretty fun, you know what squashes every ounce of potential fun out of it? Lag. It just doesn't work if it takes you 1 or 2 seconds to actually do anything. PvP might be the most sensitive type of content you can play when it comes to latency, delays and lag in general. Sadly, I think in the case of lag while doing incursions, the raid groups are probably to blame. I guess the servers or shards just don't like that many players all hanging around in a very small area, where lots of other players are also likely to be running through trying to do their quests. I would have hoped we would have enough stability here to get a good slog-in match going, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I've actually started shard hopping to try and avoid the raids if the lag gets too bad. I'm all for a good alliance vs horde beat 'em up, but any amount of lag instantly kills my enjoyment of pretty much any activity in any game. World of Warcraft is no exception. So maybe the way to avoid server lag is just avoid those shards, unless something else is going on that we don't know about. I've heard quite a few people complain about server lag in a variety of situations which aren't directly tied to the incursions. Some chaps are even just chilling in Orgrimmar and getting some pretty bad delays on anything they try to do, but if no large raids are running around clogging up the servers, I have no idea what could cause it. I don't think we've seen anything mentioned from a blue addressing the issue, and thankfully I've only been running into problems where I previously mentioned incursions with large raids. But if this is affecting a lot of people pretty much everywhere they go in game, that's pretty rough. Hopefully we'll have some more information about that soon, and a fix, but right now it's just another reason some people won't be logging into play, which is pretty disheartening. But just in case you thought Blizzard didn't have our best interests in mind, you'll be glad to know there's a few new bits and bobs you can pick up at the Blizzard shop. There's a new Fox mount and an interesting bundle, which seems too good to be true. So let's have a look at the Fox mount because that's actually new. As with most store mounts, I actually like it quite a lot. I could see myself riding around on this mount for quite a bit longer than the Hivemind mount, for example, which has kind of already run its course for me. The hurdle is the cost. You're going to have to shell out $25 or just over 200k gold on US realms to get yourself 2 tokens. I think it's fantastic that we have an option to buy all this stuff with in-game gold now, and I would be way more irritated by the cash shop if tokens didn't exist, but I still can't help but feel like mounts, especially really cool mounts, should always be unlockable and obtainable in-game. I know pretty much every game has a cash shop now and it's more or less the norm, which is lame anyway, but most other games also don't come with a subscription fee. I don't really want to go down this rabbit hole because the whole sub fee versus cash shop versus freemium and all that jazz is another topic entirely, but it doesn't feel that great seeing a new mount pop up behind a paywall, cash or gold, when you're already paying to play the game every month. How about putting some more mounts out into the world so we have an excuse to actually go on an adventure once in a while and explore this world that they've so lovingly put together? And then if you have a look through the cash shop, you'll see almost everything is on sale for the holidays, and there's even a pretty large bundle of goodies available for $50, which includes the different 3 helms, the Frost one, the Fiery one, and the Blood Death Knight kind of one, 3 old pets, and 3 old mounts. Sure, all of this stuff is old, but the bundle deal is actually pretty decent. At their normal prices, these items work out to be $150 from what I remember, but the bundle can be bought for $50 right now. That seems like Blizzard is maybe doing us a favour here. Wahoo for Christmas! Let's put some stuff on sale and give back to the players. Until you look at the fine print. Now, I'm not usually one to get sucked into the conspiracy mindset, but the reason these items are bundled together and on sale right now is because apparently they're being retired, or they're going into hibernation, so they won't be available after this sale ends for an undetermined amount of time. It seems a bit weird to take digital items out of the store at all. It's not like they have a limited amount of stock and when it's gone, it's gone. These are digital items. They're never going to run out. The main reason anyone ever runs a sale like this is to create a sense of urgency on the side of the customer. If you don't buy it right now, you won't have another chance, and it's super cheap right now, so you better not miss out. It's a pretty standard marketing technique, and it works. People will buy up this bundle and be happy they did, because it's cheap and it's potentially time restricted. But the fine print on this bundle says these items can or may come back at any time. So it's not really limited at all, and Blizzard knows that. They're just creating a justification for players to want to buy these bundles. Which is fine, I guess. They want to make money like any other business, and that money hopefully goes back into the game to make Warcraft worth logging into. But you can pretty easily see how many people would see this as a blatant cash grab, which probably isn't doing Blizzard any favours when there's plenty of rumours floating around that Activision wants to see more dollars and couldn't care less about the actual product and is running Blizzard games into the ground because they want to cut costs in every possible way. All they care about is the money. They don't care about the players, they don't care about the world, and they don't care how the game is doing, as long as it's making them money. Combine that with an expansion that isn't sitting too well with a lot of people and the various problems we already touched on in this video, and I'm starting to worry about where the World of Warcraft could be in the very near future. Hopefully they prove us wrong going into the next few patches and the next expansion, but that's it for this video. Have you been experiencing any bad server lag since patch 8.1 went live? What do you think about the exploits and the subsequent punishment? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.